very good morning to you, and not only that, but a happy May Day. Hey, everybody, good morning, and welcome to today's edition of Good Day Grenada. First day of May. Got some light showers taking place here this morning. Nothing heavy, nothing to be too concerned about, at least so far. And I hope things hold up because it's going to be a big day out there in St. David today, man. That's where all the Labor Day activity is going to be taking place. So we'll just have to hope that the torrential showers stay away. Let's take a look at the rundown, see what sort of mischief we're getting into. Hey. Here she comes sauntering into the studio with her blue jeans, red shirt. Yeah, Sharon's going to be with us. Folks, this morning, first of all, I'm surprised that we're actually doing a program this morning. You know, usually on a holiday, I try to take a holiday off, but not this morning. And I see that obviously Peter Bishop hasn't taken a holiday off either. He's in Brooklyn, New York. Do you guys have May Day? And, you'll have to let me know, Pedro. And Ashton Fletcher is also saying, Happy May Day, Brother George. Yeah, thank you very much, Ashton. Not quite sure. I don't remember exactly where you are, but I certainly hope you do have a wonderful day. Now, we're going to turn things around a little bit this morning because we've got a special feature for you, which I think you're really going to enjoy. Especially those of you who like to do all kinds of stuff with your hair, huh? Yeah. This morning, we're going to begin with the National Report. Believe it or not, yaman, right off the bat. The National Report comes at you this morning. And after that, we're going to get into a segment here which I have captioned The Global Natural Hair Movement with a lady by the name of Gillian Scott. And Gillian's not going to be alone. She's going to be in, I think it's in Washington or New York. Where is she? New York. Gillian's in New York. And Sharon is the person who actually introduced me to Gillian. I haven't met her personally, but we're going to meet in just a few minutes. And we're going to have a sort of three-way chat here this morning. So yeah, the Global Natural Hair Movement. Mags, I know you don't have much hair on your head, but after you listen to this morning, you may decide to start growing some hair. I had to take a jab at you. Why not? Let me get back here to, so that's your lineup this morning. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Let's see here. Let me get back to Facebook. Peter is saying Happy Workers' Day to all. Margaret's saying Good morning, workers all. Happy May Day. Harry Gibson, you got to be kidding. Harry is saying hi, my brother. Harry, did you go on down to Trinidad with a gang? Huh? And John Kennison is saying, Good morning, George, and the world from Windy number 1. Yeah. Parish number 1, constituency number 1. Huh? Whatever. Peter Bishop says, first Monday in September? What happens on the first Monday in September? I don't know. You're not going to tell us? Ashton says he's in Louisville, Kentucky. Good to see you up there, buddy. And Pele, hello, Pele Darbo. He's saying good morning to the workers of the world unite. Yeah, Pele. Good advice. Hope they're listening. Margaret Francis says, no, the U.S. doesn't observe May Day despite being the founder of the day. Well, is that the first surprise they've dropped on you, Margaret? No, of course not. And Veronica Sandy is sending blessings to everyone. Harry, okay, Harry. Yeah, unfortunately you weren't able to make it. Neither was I. But I bet those guys had a great time. God bless you all. Okay, so there you have it. That's a little introduction this morning, and as I promised, we will actually begin this morning with the national report. Usually we deal with some other issues, pertaining to the good governance agenda, but because it's a holiday and we've got this really special feature I managed to get my hands on, um, thanks to Sharon, yeah, we've decided we'll start with the national report. So here goes.
Three other wells to be drilled as exploration for oil and gas continues. Details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, April 30th, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. At least three other wells will be drilled in Grenada's waters as exploration continues to determine the extent of oil and gas reserves in the country. The Russian-based company Global Petroleum Group, GPG, is preparing to begin drilling the other wells in what has been dubbed the Nutmeg Field. The next phase of work in Grenada's oil exploration initiative will also help to determine the best location for extraction. GPG undertook its first exploration in the second half of 2017, and geological results confirmed the presence of oil and natural gas deposits. Energy Officer John O'Geist provided an update on Grenada's oil and gas exploration initiative during the weekly post-cabinet briefing on Tuesday.
The finding of these deposits with the exploratory well simply reveal that we have it, but based on the tests that they have been conducting, we have to determine the area and the extent of this deposit. So in order to do that, they will have to making arrangements right now to do some, at least three other wells that would define the full range of this deposit. And also it will help surgically to determine which would be the best location to put the production well. That location will be determined by the, among other things, the pressure that exists in the source rocks that would make it easier to extract the petroleum from it.
In April 2018, GPG entered an agreement with the state-owned national gas company in Trinidad and Tobago that supplies most of Trinidad's heavy industrial sector with liquefied natural gas for sale of Grenada's potential gas resources between both parties. Mr. O'Geist attended that signing as Grenada's representative and also in his capacity as chairman of the advisory committee appointed by the minister to ensure that due process is followed. He disclosed on Tuesday that GPG is using petroleum engineers based in Houston, Texas, to help design infrastructure that will allow gas to be transported from the Nutmeg Field to Trinidad's Hibiscus platform. That platform is already equipped with the infrastructure that will allow the gas to be carried straight to the refineries in Trinidad. He says all this is being done in accordance with the Grenada Petroleum and Natural Gas Deposit Act, which authorizes the minister to issue a petroleum exploration license or petroleum development license to qualified applicants who must meet certain conditions.
One of the qualifying conditions is that the company who so applies must, for exploration license, you want to go out and find deposits, it will give you the permission to conduct all the geological studies that you need to do, but you have to submit a work plan that spells out all the actions that would lead to the successful discovery. And more importantly, it must state or sum up the minimum expenditure that is required in the first year. That license under the law is initially for 4 years, so that every year, particularly with the application, it must come in with the minimum expenditure, and that company have to prove firmly that they have the financial capability to so perform this work before that license is granted.
The energy officer further explained that after the exploration license is obtained, the studies done and the requisite report submitted, the next step will be for development license. Through this license, the developer, in this case GPG, is assigned a certain amount of acreage of Grenada's maritime territories to continue exploration and for which an annual fee is paid.
Once you have successfully done the drilling portion of it, and the appraisal report is submitted, like as we see here with GPG and partner, they're going ahead to develop the production well that would allow full production, extraction of these resources so that it could be marketed. So once that has been achieved, the licensee is able to market these resources, and they will receive revenues from that, and there would be an agreement with the government to that a certain portion of those revenues would be paid directly to the government from the marketing of these products. Now, in the petroleum industry, this is not something that is published out. That is an arrangement. It has to be agreed between the parties that sign it, that no one can independently go ahead and publish this. Even if you go to Saudi Arabia or Trinidad, you can't get it on the street.
To ensure that due process is followed, an advisory committee is appointed by the minister and is currently chaired by Mr. Auguste. 3 members were appointed by the minister and the other 3 were nominated by the company that received the exploration or development license. Health Minister, the Honorable Nicholas Steele, says Grenada's success in vaccination rates must not lead to complacency in monitoring the threat of measles within the region. His comments come on the heels of an alert by the World Health Organization following a release from the Center for Disease Control, which says this year the U.S. has its highest number of measles cases in 25 years. 704 cases have been recorded in 22 states. Minister Steele says although Grenada's vaccination rate is higher than the U.S. and more successful, measures must still be implemented to prevent the spread.
We have a very successful vaccination rate, much higher than the U.S. So we are better equipped. However, Pan American Health Organization has put the entire region on alert for it. What I would want to make sure is that individuals appraise themselves, and we will probably have the Ministry of Health in the next day or two, since you have raised that question, make a public announcement with respect to the signs and symptoms of measles. Most of us may be aware, but just for the abundance of caution or so.
He boasts that Grenada's vaccination rate is 98.9% successful.
It stresses on and allows us to speak to the success of our vaccination policy here. We are 98.9, I think, percent successful with vaccination, measles being one of those. If we are, what we have noticed throughout other islands where measles has shown up, it's been transient, in other words, a visitor that has come in. And thankfully, because of the successful vaccination rate that most of the Caribbean islands has, but Grenada does lead that, it does not spread. But it's still, we are most aware of that threat right now and are monitoring it.
Minister Steele reassured the public that there is constant monitoring at the airports and ports. He highlighted the upgrade in the screening process at the Maurice Bishop International Airport.
There is constant screening at our borders. In fact, what we implemented about a year ago. It is covert screening. You will see that they are difficult to observe, but thermal cameras at Maurice Bishop International Airport. So it's not a case of a nurse having to be outside checking everyone's temperature or so. But those cameras were donated to us by the government and People's Republic of China. They are in full effect there. Surveillance at our other ports remains in effect. In fact, there is regional ramping up of surveillance that continues. But yes, we are monitoring our ports for measles or any other disease as well, wherever there is a threat level.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The eyes of the world are on us more than ever. So let's take it to them. Saturday, May 4th, the Spice Mass Corporation launches Spice Mass 2019. The Caribbean's biggest summer festival. This year's launch starts with a roadshow from Ariza Copper to the National Stadium from 3 p.m. Bring out your last year's costume and join the parade. It's one big experience with a display of fancy math, traditional math, Moko Jumbi, and the most envied Jab Jab. The official opening is at the National Stadium, featuring your favorite soca artists and DJs, Calypso Monarch, Steel Pan champions, and presentations of the 2019 Carnival Queen contestants, plus displays of 2019 costumes, SMC show tickets, and other attractions to be won. Saturday, May 4th, the National Stadium, the launch of Spice Mass 2019. Bring out the entire family. Log on to spicemassgrenada.com for more.
Continuing the news, Grenada's health sector will be placed under the microscope as government charts the course for its improvement and development. Health Minister Nicholas Steele made the announcement on Tuesday during the government's weekly post-cabinet briefing. He said May 11th has been chosen as the day to discuss everything health-related. The retreat will assess the operations, outline and highlight what needs to be changed, and come up with a time frame to implement the changes. Minister Steele says while there has been successes within the sector, there is room for improvement.
The greater distance to go with the improvement of healthcare, as in first world nations as well. We are having on the 11th a retreat of cabinet to discuss and prioritize healthcare alone, a retreat to discuss healthcare as a whole. I am very pleased that our Prime Minister and my cabinet colleagues have seen it fit to dedicate that time solely to policy decisions, etc., on healthcare, and look forward to some significant progress and results coming out of that.
Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honourable Keith Mitchell is in neighbouring Trinidad and Tobago this week for regional meetings pertaining to information and communication technology and security. On Tuesday, Dr. Mitchell addressed the plenary session of the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, which is a regional multi-stakeholder forum designed to coordinate a regional approach to Internet governance. The initiative is spearheaded by the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, CTU, which is this year celebrating its 30th anniversary. As part of the 2019 forum, the CTU arranged a representation of a futuristic single market space and economy. Addressing delegates against this backdrop, Dr. Mitchell focused on accelerating digital transformation by pooling limited resources. While in Trinidad and Tobago this week, the Prime Minister will also attend the 19th special meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community on Security, which is scheduled for May 3rd. That's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
Alrighty, there you have it. That's last night's edition of the National Report from the GIS. And it obviously spooled up a number of you people out there on social media this morning. Let's start with Peter Bishop. Peter is sending a reminder to the minister, Minister Steele. We're waiting on the chat room you promised to set up about 3 weeks ago to allow the public to comment on health issues. Don't hold your breath. Sharon says the report is finished. Who's Sharon talking to? Okay. Margaret Francis says, Mr. Steele, the measles outbreak is as a result of anti-vaxxers. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, Margaret. She's going to let me know, Sharon. Not because of low vaccine rates. The U.S. was declared measles-free in 2000. Okay. John says, covert screening? Yeah, John, are you really surprised? And about the oil and gas exploration, the fact that they're going to be digging 3 more wells. I see here that you folks took that on as well. Anthony DeRigg says, regarding the drilling of oil, why not talk about environmental effects of drilling? Okay? Again, Anthony, I hope you're not holding your breath. Okay? And let's pray to God that, we don't have any spills or any disasters. A lot of countries around the world where they've been drilling for years and there have not been any major spills or anything. So I think it's sort of unfair to assume that we are going to have one here. Yes, it's something we need to be aware of, but please. Let's see here. John says 3 more drillings. Watch out for more earth tremors. Again, John, don't be so cynical, man. Yeah, that's it. Anyhow, folks, I'm going to take a little break here right now. And then, when I come back, Sharon's going to be offended because I'm saying this. But you're about to see one of the most beautiful faces you've ever seen on this program. Hang in there for just a sec.
Are you equipped to take a closer look behind the numbers? The Caribbean Institute of Forensic Accounting can help you build your professional skills to audit and investigate fraud, waste, and abuse. Through the Forensic Certified Public Accountants FCPA program, you gain qualification to conduct forensic audits and investigations globally, earn international recognition and designation as a Forensic Certified Public Accountant from the Forensic CPA Society of the USA. Certificate courses run May to November 2019 in Grenada at the Grenada National Stadium. To register, contact us at info@cfa-edu.com or 868-224-3478.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
My name is Jennifer James, and I've been making confectionaries for the past 7 years. Growing up as a little girl, I always wanted to make these little things. Forge, sugar cake, tamarind ball, these little things. I read something actually, and it said that tamarind itself is very good because it eliminates fat from the liver. You get the mature tamarind and you crack it, you shell it out. I would add a little baking soda, some spices. I would leave it to rest probably for about 2 hours and then add my sugar and just start kneading. I usually knead it hard enough so that I can roll it. When I finish roll it, I will paste it with the actual white or brown sugar. And you have a nice tamarind ball. I have been providing food fair with tamarind ball about 6 years now. I started producing tamarind ball to sell For the school children, I thought I could advance somewhere. So I went to Food Fair and I asked one of the salespersons there if they would be interested in selling my tamarind ball. And she told me yes. She told me to bring 20 packets to start with. It was really a joy for me because I wanted to extend on my little business. My name is Jennifer James and I work with the Food Fair to provide you with tamarind balls.
Alrighty, folks, time to get down to brass tacks on this kind of rainy, kind of cloudy May Day morning here, 1st of May. At this weekend's 12 degrees north, 61 degrees west film festival, one of the films being shown will be a documentary titled Back to Naturals, which was filmed in the United States, France, and South Africa. It is directed by Gillian Scott. She's a clinical psychologist of Grenadian parentage. She lives in the United States. Her parents, she was born in the United States, but her parents are from Grenada. She looks at the issue of hair in the black community through a historical and psychological lens. Back to Natural is a 69-minute documentary film which reveals the shocking truth about hair, politics, and racial identity in black communities and beyond. Let me start by showing you a bit of a preview.
Many people in the African American community have taken to Twitter to insult Gabby Douglas's hair.
And people are literally tweeting about her pulled back ponytail.
Wore a wig to work every day because he was not allowed to wear dreadlocks.
You do what you can to try to fit in.
That style is stuck in the 60s anti-establishment look, and it scares people.
If Michelle Obama had natural hair.
And that is why black hair is political.
When I was maybe like 10, we started like getting perms. That was the goal, was to get the hair that could swing.
Like literally my first memory is, I think I was 7 and I just was bald.
The late 1990s, you had black women stopping with the relaxers, but it wasn't called any kind of movement because they were doing it in isolation. 2005, when YouTube was invented, revolution broke out.
Clients come to us. We're in France, right? Je voudrais un tapet cut. The reference now are through YouTube and the YouTubers. It's all throughout the world.
Having locks freed me. A lot of my early socialization came with white kids. So I remember the attractive girls always being the white girls.
At one point, there was a lot of discussion in my family about whether or not I should straighten my hair so that I would attract more men.
When I dreamt about having children, I wanted to be sure that she would grow in a world where she wouldn't have to fight like we for our hair, for our identity.
I wish my parents had said that I had beautiful hair.
Black people and all people, but black people in particular, not only have a right to be authentic, it is a requirement.
All right, so to see more, you guys and gals had better get down to Lava Lanes on, I think it's Saturday the 4th, hey? Now, let me say good morning. There's my guest. Take a look. Gillian Scott. How are you, Gillian? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you so much for having me.
Gillian, I hate to start on a downer, but you've disappointed me. I mean, I have been having these visions over the past 24 hours since we decided to set up the session this morning. Here's somebody coming to talk about hair, and I'm going to see the most outlandish hairstyle I have ever seen. And look, you've got your hair covered up, Gillian.
I do. I have to tell you, with the afro, you have to protect it. And you only very rarely get to bring it out because it's so gentle. So I'll bring it out one day and I'll send you a picture.
Okay, that's great. You heard that, eh? You heard that?
I've seen it.
Okay. Folks, Gillian, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about Back to Natural.
Okay. So as you mentioned before, my father is from Carriacou. My mom is from Jamaica. I am U.S. born, but a Caribbean person at heart. And I live in the United States in Harlem, New York, and I am a clinical psychologist. And a couple years ago, I was working at a women's college, and I was hearing a lot of Black women thinking about how their hair would impact their careers. You know, they were going to, a very fancy college and worried that when they graduated and looked for jobs, their hair would prevent them from getting a job, even though they were getting, one of the best educations they could get in the world. And at that time, I also had a perm and began to think, what's going on with Black people and hair and the establishment, and why is it something that we feel like can hold us back? And honestly, at the time, I didn't understand it. And so I felt like I needed to understand it for myself. I need to understand it as a healer. And I had no experience with film at all, but I figured, you know what, it's modern times. We have cameras that we can learn to use, and we can learn to edit software. And I decided to just travel around the States. And when I went to visit people I knew abroad, brought my camera and talked to all the Black people I could find. And I ended up, meeting amazing people that helped me put together this documentary that's been shown in over 30 festivals all over the world. We've been doing racial healing workshops, and actually we went to show the film to the New York City Commission on Human Rights and helped to both inspire and establish the first protections for natural hair.
Gillian, let me ask you this. It seems like I'm one of the few people without braids or what do you call them?
Locks.
Locks, okay? In this country today, virtually everybody is into that stuff. Either that or they have no hair. Why is there such a psychological block? Why is the type of hairstyle a person has standing in the way of professional success?
I mean, I think the answer is really simple, and that's oppression. I think a lot of us around the world, that blew my mind, but around the world have been conditioned to think that things associated with Blackness or Africanness is bad. And if you have kinky hair, that there's nothing more African than that, And I actually think that it's really that simple. We've been told that to be professional, you have to, look like white people in a lot of areas.
That's unfortunate, isn't it?
It is, but I feel really hopeful because this movement is really global. There are people all over the world who are saying, no, I'm not going to let you basically force me to put harsh chemicals on my scalp that can cause all kinds of health problems because you can't handle what my actual hair looks like. And people are standing up, and there's responses. In the United States, California just passed a bill with natural hair protections. It has to go through, some more steps, but that's, enormous. And I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, I think it was 2016, you saw the teenagers, basically marching on their school in South Africa because they couldn't have their afros in Africa.
But in recent times, that seems to be changing. And you just mentioned that actually there's legislation in place in some places.
So there are some guidelines in New York City. So it's not the full state. It's in New York City. And in California, a bill was passed, but there's still some stages left to really make it into legislation. So there are some changes. But even if there are legal changes, one of the things that we're trying to do with the documentary is to help change hearts, to help change minds. Because I think that we all know people of all races who, you know, when they see you wearing their natural hair, you know, have thoughts about it, have feelings about it that are negative. And I think it takes a while, maybe a generation or two, to think differently and feel differently. So it's not just laws, it's about how we change what's going on inside of us.
Yeah. Sharon?
Well, yesterday, for example, I saw something out of Belize where 6 police officers, female police officers, were charged for having natural hair, for having locks. And it's a worldwide thing. If you decide to go natural, I have locks, and I have people who say who used to say when I used to shave my head, why don't you grow your hair? And now these same people are saying to me, what you put this nonsense in your hair for? Take it off. And I said to them, if you don't like my hair, too bad. I don't like yours, so I wouldn't make any comments. So you know, you can't please people, so you have to please yourself. And I have seen people who Caribbean women respect. There was one instance in the Caribbean Next Top Model, and it horrified me that they forced this young girl to put chemicals in her hair, and she was in tears. She has since cut off the relaxed part and grew back her natural hair. So it's really sad.
You know, Gillian, 5 years from now, what do you expect the situation to be like? Do you think this is going to become even more widely accepted?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that this movement is going to continue to spread. Because people, if nothing else, if people aren't more socially conscious and they don't, you know, even if they don't see this issue being about race, what they do see is this issue being about health. Because more people are health conscious all over the world, right? People are thinking about working out more. They're more concerned about the food that they put into their bodies. And they're realizing that these chemicals cause reproductive problems. They impact your hormones. There's a lot of research that correlates these chemical relaxers to early puberty. And so I think with technology and the internet, and people are going to be learning more about the dangers of these chemicals, there's going to be change. And also, you know, there's a lot of women who have a lot of damage, like balding, because they're putting in, you know, weaves. And that can only last so long. So I think that the health revolution is really going to also make a change.
And I think one of the magic words there might be Alzheimer's. I suspect that the chemicals that you put on your hair could be one of the contributing factors to Alzheimer's. And for those who religious people who think the Bible is all that, and you know, the guide to everything, you would notice that Jesus had matted hair. And I have seen a lot of Caucasian people now trying to go locks, trying to get their hair matted. And yet I mean, you look at the companies who make these relaxers, and I'm sure if you look deep enough, you will find that they're Caucasian companies. So,
Gillian, there's somebody out there in Carriacou who is watching you right now, and he says a young wrestler in the United States had to have his locks cut off before he could compete on the whim of a referee. Have you heard of cases? Have you heard of situations where you know, cases have been taken to court of others? Hello. Gillian,
Yes.
have you heard of?
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you're cutting off a little bit. Can you?
Okay, the question was, yeah, it seems like we are running into internet issues. The question was, have you heard of situations where, cases have been taken to court about people who feel like they've been discriminated against because of their hairstyles?
She's frozen.
She's frozen. Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree.
Okay, I'm back now.
She's back. She's back. Okay, did you get the question, or should I try it again?
It was about the wrestler.
Well, we talked about the wrestler a little while ago, yeah. But I went on to ask you a question about whether or not you've heard of cases where the discrimination against people with less than acceptable hairstyles have been discriminated against. Have you heard of cases where these have been taken to court?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. This is definitely being taken to court. Again, in New York City, the Human Rights Commission frequently is taking it's not really court necessarily with the Human Rights Commission, but now if you discriminate against people in New York City because of the hair, you can be fined, I think it's up to $250,000 US.
Whoa.
And, you'll, maybe have to do some kind of reparations in some way.
Okay.
But, and a lot of these things may be settled privately. But when you think about preventing a child from access to education, that's a serious crime. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In the U.S., that is one of the basic rights, is the right to education. So, it's a serious issue if you get into the right system.
Your neighbor in New York, Margaret, says, when you have a white Eurocentric construct as the definition of beauty, you will have these problems. Black people are the only group whose hair is referred to as bad, kinky, nappy. Really? What makes our hair any different to anyone else? Let me hear you, Gillian.
Yeah, I mean, because it's African. I think, now when I think of, African, I feel pride and I feel happiness and I think of strength, but that's not everyone's connection. Some people think it's negative and it's bad. And I think that I'm seeing someone here, talk about, brainwashing and stuff like that. It's just brainwashing, and there's no reason why we can't heal from this. And I think that's the journey.
Margaret says, John is quite right about the wrestler having to cut off his hair. Cases of discrimination because of hairstyle is rampant, or are rampant. Yeah. Let me ask you now, let's talk about this documentary for a bit here. It's going to be shown on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, I think, down at Lava Lanes?
Saturday at noon at Lava Lanes.
Okay. I want you to take it apart for us. Somebody who comes down there at noon on Saturday to watch this, what are they going to be seeing?
It's really entertaining. I think people really enjoy it and are really moved. So if you want to be moved, come down and bring your family. Right, Cher? Do you think it's a family movie?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, she's seen it.
I've seen it.
She has seen it.
Yes, we were at the Grenada Film Festival a couple months ago, so people are going to be really entertained. There's some funny parts, but it's also emotional. And I think what's most exciting for people is to travel with me as I go around the world and see, Black people that look like them, but, maybe are in France and speak French, or in South Africa And it really gives you the sense that we have a global family, right? And to feel connected to other Black people around the world. But also a connection that we are going through very similar things, no matter where we are on the globe. So they can expect to see that.
You know, obviously, because Jorge Murillo Yepes says, I'm not sure where he is, but he says a similar situation obtains in Latin America regarding the hair of indigenous people and general appearance. So this thing it's a global issue, isn't it?
There's an enormous natural hair movement in Brazil. I don't know if enormous is the word, but it looks enormous from here. You know, I think again, people have always had Black pride, and there always have been people with natural hair, but access to internet and to connect and bring people together is really the foundation of the movement, right? Because then you can connect to people all over from your city, from your country, and get together to fight for our rights to be ourselves.
Margaret says, not just in the U.S. alone, it happens in the Caribbean too. I know of someone who went on a job interview in Grenada and was told her hairstyle was a problem. She had locks. Being a self-confident sister, she told them thank you, but no thank you. Gillian, for you, this is obviously very close to your heart, for you to have embarked on the making of a documentary about this whole issue. You know, there are people out there looking at you right now who are wondering, boy, you know, how do I cope with the challenges of simply looking different? How do I cope with the challenges? In your travels, I'm sure you've learned a lot. I want you to look at these folks, look right into that camera and talk to these people.
I mean, I want to be honest. You know, I think that it could be about self-esteem, but I also think it's complicated, and I don't want people to feel, you know, that they're being criticized if they don't have natural hair, or, you know, that they don't love themselves because they have natural hair. I think it's really complicated. Like, thank goodness that woman could say thank you, but no thank you, and try to look for another job. But not everybody has that option. You know, some people just have to take whatever job is available, and then they have to do whatever the job asks them to do with their hair, because that's their life. And so I think that people with privilege have to do the work, you know, for everyone else. You know, I have privilege. I have a PhD. I can work for myself if I get fired. And so that's why I took this project on, because we have to use what we have been given in this life. So again, I don't want anyone who does not have natural hair to leave this conversation feeling like criticized, or that I'm saying that they're doing something bad. And I think that we should have compassion for Black people and not be another group of people telling Black people what they have to do.
Right. One of my sons went for a job interview, and the first thing the lady said to him, unless you're a musician, you'll have to cut your locks. And he said thanks and walked out. So he refused to cut his locks because he's not a musician.
I don't believe this. I don't believe this. Thank God I still have basic hair, Gillian.
You know, I was in St. Vincent a couple of months ago. My cousin Paula was able to schedule a screening. And even though I know this stuff is happening in the Caribbean, you don't get used to it, you know. And there was a grown gentleman who said that he remembers being kicked out of school as a child because of his locks. Yeah. And that brought up a whole conversation of other people, younger people, who said, yes, they had heard of people getting reprimanded in school or kicked out of school because of their lock in modern times, like recently. And I'm saying, but these are the islands. If you can't be, you know, if you can't be Black in the islands or in Africa, Where can we be black?
Certainly not in New York. Margaret says, Miss Scott, the hair issue also ties into skin bleaching, but that's a whole other discussion. Did you encounter any of that?
I mean, yes, it's absolutely related. And I think that we have been more comfortable talking about skin bleaching. I know that there are, I can't remember the country, but there are definitely places in Africa who are looking now to ban those bleaching products. And I think bans they're good because it protects people from the chemicals, but are people focusing on the psychology?
Okay.
You know, banning stuff is not going to change anything. Like if we change all the laws and make it illegal, people in power still have these beliefs. You think that, you know, ending slavery made everything fine? No, like there's work that has to happen after you change laws to heal people. And I feel like we need to do a better job as a global society of focusing on undoing white, am I allowed to say white supremacy? It's a strong word, but that's what it is. I think that's what we have to heal from.
Kipling Francis, who is also in New York, says, I do wish you are successful in your venture because I am so fed up with seeing black women with all kinds of different color hair. Some styles are so horrible. Let me hear your comment on that one.
I don't really try to police what people do. I don't. I think black women are one of the most creative groups of people. I think that we should have fun with our hair. I think that life should be more about joy. And if some people think that that's fun and playful and makes them feel good, then they should do that. You know what I mean? I'm about people should have options and people shouldn't have to feel like they have to do anything to participate in society. Other than, there are some things that you have to do to participate in society, obviously. But, strict hair standards shouldn't be one of them. A lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't do this with your hair because it's distracting. I think, well, if you're distracted by hair, just learn to deal with, like, people have different ideas of what's beautiful.
John and Carriacou says, Rasta schoolboys here have to have their hair covered whilst in school uniform. You agree with that?
It reminds me of what was happening in the United States in the 1700s with the Tygnon laws, where Black women were forced to cover their hair, so they wouldn't attract attention, sexual attention from white males of power. So having to cover your hair has a long history of oppression. So no, I don't think that should be required, and I can't understand why that would be necessary. Like, what does that solve? Covering your locks, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something that happened to my grandson, and his father is of Indian heritage, so my grandson has what we call Indian hair, and it grows very, very fast, and his hair was almost shoulder length, and the teacher asked that he cut his hair. So we cut his hair, and then 2 days later I went to pick him up in school, and there was this little white boy with long hair. So I said to her, why did you let my grandson cut his hair and this kid didn't cut his hair? She said to me, that's his natural hair. I said, so is my grandson's hair, natural hair. And she looked at it and she was like surprised. She behaved as if my grandson was wearing a wig and had to cut it. So after that, it's entirely up to him. And if he chooses, because he used to love his long hair. So now if he wants to grow his hair, he tend to grow it over the summer vacation. And as soon as it's time to go to school, he said, Daddy, can you cut my hair? So like they condition his mind to cut his hair.
Yeah.
I don't even understand what that means. Like, she thought it wasn't his natural hair. I don't understand what that means.
You know, I think we still have this slavish mentality where we look at it's okay for you because you're white, but once you're black, you have to be controlled. And you know, I am so against it. I tend to let my children and other children just be, you know. And that's one of the reasons, to come in another subject, one of the reasons I do not hit my children. And it gets me very upset when I hear that people hit their children, because that too is from slavery. And I don't want anybody to come telling me, oh, I used to get hit and I'm okay. You used to get hit because your parents have this slavish mentality, which they don't even have control over, and they're not even aware of. So that's another subject totally.
John Crow Alexander, who's also in New York, I see you nodding your head. Do you know John Crow?
No, I'm nodding at what Cher was saying because I think about it all the time.
John says a highly qualified nurse was fired from her director's position in Grenada because of her hair. In Grenada, one has to cover up their shoulders when entering certain government premises. Put that in your next documentary, Gillian.
You know, I just wonder how people who are living in the Caribbean now, maybe you can answer this for me. What do you think the path forward is? Because I don't like to pretend I have all the answers, especially for cultures I'm not living in. So what's the path forward?
Well, I don't know, but who was it, Crow, said is quite true. You cannot go to visit in the prison or in the hospital. I was shocked to know that you couldn't go visit somebody in the hospital if your shoulders are bare. And when they say shoulders are bare, you could have a strap on, but like sleeveless. You can't go in to some places sleeveless. You cannot go into the ministerial complex to a ministry if you're sleeveless. And and it happened to me. I was nowhere that I took a friend who was visiting from the US to the ministry, and he was allowed to go in, and I was told that, I'm sorry, you're sleeveless, you cannot go into the ministry. So I had to wait in the vehicle for him.
Girl, I'm sure you got a lot of content for your next documentary here this morning. I see her nodding her head. Julianne, one last comment. Again, this one comes from New York. Kipling says, naturalness is beauty. Anything else is disguise. Pretending to be what you're not. But everyone has the right to say as they feel. And that's your stance, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what freedom is, right? And I think we're all trying to get that.
Are you going to be here for the screening on the weekend?
Unfortunately, I am not, because we are rolling out our broadcast TV debut on Monday. And we're actually going to be available in the Caribbean through Revolt Television in some places. So if you have Digicel or a Bahamas network, then you may have Revolt TV, and you can also watch us on TV through that.
Gillian, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure meeting you. I'm glad that Sharon set this up yesterday. Look at the smirk on her face, eh? Just take a look. And when next you're in Grenada, please come and see us in person.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope everyone can come on Saturday, May 4th at 12 at Lava Lane.
Okie doke. We've been talking with Gillian Scott, and she is currently in the Big Apple, Grenadian parentage, but living in the United States. Sharon, thank you very much, my dear friend, for setting this up. God knows what you got up your sleeve next, but I'm looking forward to that anyway. We'll take another break here, and we'll come on back and wrap it up.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Are you equipped to take a closer look behind the numbers? The Caribbean Institute of Forensic Accounting can help you build your professional skills to audit and investigate fraud, waste, and abuse. Through the Forensic Certified Public Accountants FCPA program, you gain qualification to conduct forensic audits and investigations globally, earn international recognition and designation as a Forensic Certified Public Accountant from the Forensic CPA Society of the USA. Certificate courses run May to November 2019 in Grenada at the Grenada National Stadium. To register, contact us at info@cfa-edu.com or 868-224-3478.
Alrighty, folks, just before we wrap it up, some late comments coming in here from John. John says, as long as your hair is tidy and looked after, I see no problem. Margaret says, actually, there's a double standard to that dress code. It does not apply to white folks. I experienced that firsthand, and I have the pictures to prove it as well. Happened last year at the Ministerial Complex. Good discussion this morning. Mags, we have good discussions every morning. Ray on Tuesdays, Sharon on Wednesdays, Alan on Thursdays, Brian on... What are you talking about, girl? You going out to St. David's today?
No, you know, today is Wednesday, so we having a Kaluki tournament at Kennedy's house.
A Kaluki what?
Tournament.
A tournament? I thought you said parliament. A Kaluki parliament. No?
Starting at 2 o'clock at Kennedy's house.
Oh, really? 2 o'clock today?
So that means we're going until late.
Okay. Food, eh? Food.
Food and family, you know.
Yeah.
We seem to be addicted to each other.
Yeah. All right, Sharon, let me take another break, and then we'll come back with our inspirational words. Hold on.
Are you equipped to take a closer look behind the numbers? The Caribbean Institute of Forensic Accounting can help you build your professional skills to audit and investigate fraud, waste, and abuse. Through the Forensic Certified Public Accountants FCPA program, you gain qualification to conduct forensic audits and investigations globally, earn international recognition and designation as a Forensic Certified Public Accountant from the Forensic CPA Society of the USA. Certificate courses run May to November 2019 in Grenada at the Grenada National Stadium. To register, contact us at info@cfa-edu.com or 868-224-3478.
You know, I'm seeing something here that, has me so honored. I'm just about blushing this morning. He's incognito. A gentleman by the name of Daryl Brathwaite is on there this morning. But he's not saying anything. He's very quietly. He's probably still in his jammies. It's May Day. Why not? Relaxing. Melvon Coutain is also there this morning and not saying anything either. somebody named Anthony Humble Hutchinson. Hello, Anthony Humble Hutchinson. Judy Lee. Ray Roberts. Ray, he's probably gone by now, but I'm sure Ray's going to be up in St. David. He ain't going to miss St. David today, Sharon. Pilgrims, parting word from the Holy Scriptures, and it comes to you from Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 to 21. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Pilgrims, I see Sharon nodding her head. Yeah. Pilgrims. Oh, by the way, today happens to be Ray Roberts' birthday, and John obviously remembered. Happy birthday, or I ain't going to sing. I'm not going to sing. As a child, whenever I tried singing at home, my parents read me my rights. You have the right to remain silent. Okay, folks, that's going to do it for today's edition of Gudday Grenada. Thank you so much for joining us. And we do hope that you'll be able to join us again tomorrow morning for another edition. Until such time, God bless you.